So we're talking about Har Sinai and how Hashem chose this mountain specifically over all other mountains. So there's the famous Midrash that there was different mountains that came and said that the Torah should be given on them, but Hashem chose Sinai because it was very humble. So that's the famous or well-known story. Now we're going to go more in depth into this and to see what were those other mountains. Why did they think that the Torah should be given on them? Why Har Sinai was the one that Hashem ultimately chose. Another question is, Har Sinai is in the Sinai desert. It's not in Eretz Yisrael. You would think that Hashem would give the Torah in Israel, right? In Eretz Yisrael, the land of the Jewish people. So why was the Torah not given in Eretz Yisrael?
It was 2 months after leaving Egypt.
Yes.
So how far away from Egypt?
It's less than a 2-month walk.
It's not that far away from Egypt. I think Egypt and Sinai, if you look on the map, they're not too far. But Hashem could have waited till they came to Israel and then gave them the Torah there. Why did Hashem choose the location of Sinai, which is outside of Israel? That's the question. So we're going to see here 3 fascinating answers. So I'll read it in Hebrew. You can follow along in English, or either way, there's copies of each. So it says, what is the reason that the Torah was not given in Eretz Yisrael? In order not to give room for the nations to come and say, the non-Jews could come and say, the reason why we didn't accept the Torah is because it wasn't given in our land. It's in the Jewish property, in the place that belongs to the Jewish people, so therefore we didn't accept it. But Hashem gave it in a place that really belongs to no one. It was a desert, the middle of nowhere, so therefore no one could come and say that the Torah is really only for a certain people, which means if they would have wanted to, they could have accepted the Torah. We know that Hashem went around to all the nations and He offered them the Torah, and they didn't accept it. Davar acher, another explanation is, Hashem did not want to cause argument between the Jewish people. We know that Eretz Yisrael was divided according to the Shvatim. So let's say if Har Sinai was in the plot of Reuven, so then Shimon would say, the Torah belongs to Reuven, you guys have to keep it, not Shimon. So Hashem gave it in a place that has no owners. No one could claim it. No one could say that the Torah is mine over yours. And then it says the Torah was given b'midbar, ba'esh u'b'mayim. It was given in a desert with fire and water. Just like a desert, fire and water are free, l'kol ba'y'olam, kach devei Torah chinam l'kol ba'y'olam. So too the Torah is free and open for all to take.
They sure do.
Everyone takes claim for it, huh?
But you don't think of water and midbar together. You think midbar is desert.
Midbar is more like Aish, more dry than the water. So what does it mean that the Torah was given b'mayim, in water?
Well, thunder and words of fire and so forth. It relates to the Torah, not the desert.
So the Torah is compared to fire and water, but it was given in the desert. That's probably the meaning. Yes.
That's my opinion.
Okay, that might be the right explanation. So this is why it was not given in Eretz Yisrael. But now, why on Har Sinai? Why specifically on Mount Sinai? So here we have a Midrash on Tehillim. Rabbi Nassan Eimer, Kivan shebikesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu litin Torah liYisrael. When Hashem wanted to give the Torah to the Jewish people, Ba Carmel mi Aspamia. So the Mount Carmel came from Aspamia. Aspamia is translated as like Hispania. It would be like from Spain or that area. And it says that the mountain traveled. It went from where it was located, and it came to where Har Sinai was. The Tavor, and then there's another mountain called Mount Tavor, that came from Beis Elim. That I don't know exactly where that is. Zeh shenamar b'Kabbalah. This is what it is written in Kabbalah. Here it's referring to the prophets. Chai ani neum hamelach Hashem tzvakei shemai. Hashem promises, ki ketavar beharim, just like Tavor in the mountains, uka Karmel bayam yavai, and like the Carmel which is on the water will come. We see here that the mountains travel. There is these traveling mountains. So what does each one have to say for itself? Za'omer nikresi Har Tavor. He says, I am called Mount Tavor. Alai noah shetisher shchina. It is befitting that the Shekhinah should rest on me. Lefi shani gavaya mikol harim, because I am higher above all mountains. V'lo yardu alai mei hamabel. Very interesting. It says here that the Mabel, the waters of the Mabel, didn't reach this mountain. That's how tall it was. I have a little bit of a difficulty understanding because the water came from above, but I guess from the bottom it didn't rise up above this mountain. Usually we say Har Ararat. I'm not sure if it's the same one.
Ararat became exposed when the water started to recede.
But this one never got exposed in the first place. Like, never got covered.
If he says he's taller than all the mountains, there's only one mountain in the world that's taller than all the mountains.
So how could he say that?
Everest.
Mount Everest. So how could he say that this? Maybe it is Mount Everest. I don't know. So that's his claim to fame, because he's higher, and the water of the Mabels didn't rise above him. But the words he says are "v'la yardu alai." They did not fall onto me. That's what's interesting. It sounds like that the water of the Mabel didn't even come onto it. Another one, the other mountain says, the Har HaKarmel says, "Anina kresi Har HaKarmel." I am called the Mount of Carmel. Alai noah shetisha shchina. It's befitting that the Shechina should rest on me. Lefi shani nismatztati b'tavach, because I came in the middle. Va'alai avru es hayam, and they passed over the Yam through me, through the Har HaKarmel. And I'm also looking for more information on this. It sounds like that when the Jewish people crossed the Yam Suf, the Mount Carmel went in the middle, and the Jewish people passed through it in the water. I never heard of this either. But he says, "Va'alai avru es hayam." They passed the water through me. That's what Har HaKarmel is saying. So each one has their greatness to it.
This new translation is quite different. It says, "Because I stood in the middle of the sea." Oh, that sea, the Red Sea.
Well, it doesn't say specifically, but that's the sea that the Jewish people crossed over, unless it's referring to something else. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Hashem says, "Kfar nifsaltem lefanai begavos sheyesh bachem." Hashem says, you're already not valid, you're already puzzle, because you're too haughty. Kulchem psulim lefanai. You are all puzzle in front of me. Amr lefanav. So they said to Hashem, "V'chi masik panim yesh lefanecha." Do you have favoritism that you only choose certain things, or maybe you're going to take away our reward? Which means they did an effort. These mountains traveled. They came to be the one that Hashem should give the Torah on them. Amar lam HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem says, "Hayil v'trachtem lefanai b'shvil kvaydi." Because you made this effort because of my honor, Ashalim lachem schar. I will pay you back. You will get rewarded for your effort. What happened to these two mountains? Hari nasati lahar Tavor teshua liyisrael b'mei Devora. In the times of Devora, when they were fighting with Sisera, that happened. That was near Har Tavor. Shenamar lech umashachta b'Har Tavor. It says go to the Mount Tavor. Ubahar HaKarmel teshua l'Eliyahu. And the Mount Carmel, that's where salvation came to Eliyahu. Shnamar kabetz Elias kol Yisrael Har HaKarmel. The whole story with Eliyahu and the prophets of the Baal and the different, where he made the test if the fire will come down, that happened by Har HaKarmel. So fire and water. Again, a connection to Matan Torah. So this is the part of the story that they don't really tell us. Usually they say, oh, they were just haughty, so they were pushed away. Here they said, we did something, we came all the way, let us get some reward. And Hashem says, yes, you will get rewarded in a different time later on in history. One in the time of Devora and one in the time of Eliyahu. Now, where did Sinai come from? Where did Har Sinai? So usually we assume that Har Sinai was already there. The Sinai mehechan ba. The Midrash asks, where did Har Sinai come from? Amar Rabbi Yosi mihar haMoriah nislash. It was grabbed off of Har HaMoriah in Eretz Yisrael, kechala meisa, just like someone is separating challah from dough. So this mountain also traveled from Eretz Yisrael, from Har HaMoriah, and a portion of it was removed, separated, and brought to this place. Mimakom shenakad Yitzchak Avinu, the place where Yitzchak was bound for the Akedah. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hoyel v'Yitzchak aviyim nekad olav. Since Yitzchak, their forefather, was bound on this mountain, Noah lebanav lekabel olav esatera. It is befitting for the children to receive the Torah on that same very mountain. So,
Wasn't that on Temple Mount?
Yes, so that's what it's saying, that a part of the Temple Mount moved to the Sinai, to the place where Hashem would give would bring down the Saras Sedibras. So all these mountains are traveling. You have Har Tavor, Har HaKarmel, they're all coming to Sinai where it's taking place. And even Har Sinai is not coming from there, it's coming from Israel. It's an amazing thing what this Midrash is telling us. Now, it finishes off with also something fascinating. It says that Har Sinai will be returned back to Eretz Yisrael. How do we know that it will return to its place? Shenemar Nachon Yeh Har Beis Hashem B'Rosh Harim. There's a pasuk in Yeshaya that says that the house of Hashem, which is the Beis Hamikdash, will be B'Rosh Harim, will be on the top of mountains. Which mountain is this referring to? Also Har Sinai. So we see here that eventually, when Mashiach will come, the Har Sinai will be brought to its original place in Eretz Yisrael, where it came from, the Har HaMoriah. So this is the moving of the mountains. So here we see that they were rewarded. Even these other mountains that we think that they're very haughty, but they made an effort to come to get the Torah, and Hashem says, I will reward you. Now, one of the rewards we said was that in the times of Devorah, when they won over the war with Sisera, so it says Devorah, she was a prophet, and she sang a song, the Shiras Devorah, the song of Devorah. So in Shoftim, it says, these are the words. It says, Shimu Malachim, kings, listen. Hazinu Reiznim, the noble ones, pay attention. Anoichi LaHashem, Anoichi Ashira. I am to Hashem, I will sing. Azamir LaHashem Elokei Yisrael. I will sing to the God of Israel. And we see here the word Anoichi twice. Anoichi, Anoichi. So Rashi says, Anoichi, Anoichi. Kaful. Why is there a double mention of the word Anoichi? Shamati Midrash Agada. Rashi says, I heard this from the Midrash. Loi kipech HaKadosh Baruch Hu Har Tavor v'Karmel. Hashem does not hold back anyone's reward, even from these mountains. They came all the way to receive the Torah, and they walked back shamefully. They came back in embarrassment. The Torah was not given on them. Hashem says, Hashem says, I will pay you back in double measure. Nemar b'Sinai Anoichi Hashem Elokecha. By Har Sinai it says Anoichi once. B'Tavor Yomru Anoichi Anoichi. In the song of Devorah, it uses the word Anoichi twice. So not only does Hashem pay them back, Hashem pays them back in a double measure. Anoichi Anoichi. Nemar b'Sinai Anoichi Hashem Elokecha. By Har Sinai it says, I am Hashem your God. B'Karmel Yomar Kaful. By Har HaKarmel, after Eliyahu proved that Hashem is the true God, they said it twice. Hashem hu Elokim, Hashem hu Elokim. Hashem is the real God. They said that twice, B'mei Eliyahu. So these mountains got rewarded in a double measure. Not only Hashem said Anoichi once, but by Devorah it said it twice, Anoichi, Anoichi. And by Eliyahu it says twice, Hashem hu Elokim. If you think about these three stories that happened with these mountains, they're really very much connected. Har Sinai is when everyone saw that Hashem is the true Hashem. And then when the Jewish people were in a situation where Hashem had to save them from Sisera, so that's again showing the world that Hashem makes miracles and Hashem takes care of the Jewish people. And then in the time of Eliyahu, where people were serving Baal and other idols, this was again a testimony that Hashem hu Elokim, and it's reaffirming what happened by Har Sinai. And even in a double measure, it's like not only are we not weakened by this challenge, but we become stronger. Hashem hu Elokim. Now there's a Gemara in Megillah that takes a lesson from what happened with the mountains to the power of a shul, of all the shuls. This is from Masechta Megillah.
Yeah.
Tanya Rabbi Elazar HaKapar Omer. Rabbi Elazar HaKapar says, Asidin bati knisiyos ubati midrash shebe Bavel sheyikavu be'eretz Yisrael. He says that in the future, when Mashiach will come, all the shuls and all the bati midrashos will all be established in Eretz Yisrael. So everything is going to pick up and move there. Shenamar ki Tavor b'harim HaKarmel bayom yavein. We bring the same pasuk about the mountains traveling. V'alei dvarim kal v'chaymer. This is a kal v'chaymer. Uma Tavor v'Karmel shalei bo elu lefisha elu m'Torah. These two mountains, they only came for that moment. They only came for the time of the giving of Har Sinai. Nikbayim be'eretz Yisrael. Those mountains were established and moved to Eretz Yisrael. But the knesiyos, bati midrashos, a shul and a place of learning, shekayrin umarbitzin v'em Torah, that we study Torah and we spread Torah, alachas kama v'kama. So if those mountains were moved and they became part of Eretz Yisrael, and just because they wanted to be part of the giving of the Torah, so a shul that has the kedusha, that we learn Torah in it and we daven in it, how much more so that they are all going to be transferred to Eretz Yisrael. Darash Bar Kapara. Bar Kapara explained the pasuk. Mai dechsiv lama tiratzdu in harim gavnunim. There's a pasuk in Tehillim. It says, "Why are you unsettled, you high-peaked mountains?" What is this jealousy? What is this dance of the mountains? Yatzas Abaskel v'amr lahem. Abaskel came out and said to them, Lama tirtzu dinim Sinai. What are you starting a battle, a judgment against Har Sinai? Kulchem bali mumin atam etzel Sinai. You are all blemished compared to Sinai.
Here's the thing, it's interesting. They already have glory.
Yes.
And when you look upon a tall, proud mountain, you're supposed to say a bracha.
Yes.
So they already have glory of God. They've got reward. They're constantly being blessed.
They don't have the Torah. They wanted the Torah.
I know, but that's piling on. A small mountain needs a bracha. It's just a thought.
Yeah, so that's true. They already have something. They already have a lot of value, and they wanted more. But we see over here that there's not only the negative. They were just like Bali Gaiva. They were haughty. It's from here. It sounds like there's a positive side to it. They wanted to be the ones that the Torah should be given on them, and Hashem rewards them for that desire. That's usually we don't say that half of the story. We just say, oh, they were Bali Gaiva. But Hashem, because they had this desire, Hashem rewarded them later on in the future. Now, there's a lot of questions over here. First of all, how does a mountain move? Could a mountain travel? What does this mean? What does it mean that mountains are fighting with each other? Like, do mountains talk? What does this even mean? And what are they really fighting about? Like, what is the difference between these mountains? Why would they think that they're better than Har Sinai? Why is Har Sinai better than them? So the Marsha addresses the issue about their having choice. We know mountains are inanimate; they don't really have life or choice to them. So the Marsha says, "V'nira dehaharim einam bali bechira lave l'shmaya Torah." It's obviously not the physical mountain itself that wants to come to hear the Torah. Ela shesar haharim ba. We know that everything has a ministering angel. Says when the mountain came, we don't mean the actual mountain. He means the ministering angel that's responsible for the mountains. That's what came. That's how the Marsha explains this. V'chein kasav ataysis breish perakama dechulin gabi ginai nara. It says about a certain river. It was called Ginai, and there was a Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair. He wanted to split the water. He had to go across it. And he made a Kriyas Yamsuf. He says, Ginai, you have to split before me. If not, I'll make you back into the way you were before you existed. And the Tosfos says over there that he wasn't talking to the water because the water won't talk back to you if you speak to it. So who is he talking to? He's talking to the Sar, the ministering angel of the water. So the similar way over here, we're talking about the Sar of the Harim, the ministering angel of the mountains. That's who's talking. So in the Gemara, we brought two things. First, we call them Bali Mumin. We call them that they're Bali Gaiva. But then another thing we said that they're coming to receive the Torah in a positive way. So these two things might be arguing with each other. Okay, so we saw so far that they're coming, the reason why they think they're better is because they're tall or because they help the Jewish people by the Yam Suf. Here we're going to see a different reason. On the next page. Lama teratzton harim gavnunim. Rabbi Yossi Aglili v'Rabbi Akiva. We're bringing the same pasuk, teratzton.
Skip Bereshis Rabbah, that's pretty interesting.
What?
We're skipping Bereshis Rabbah?
We're doing now Bereshis Rabbah.
Oh, you said skipping to the next page.
The next page, the word Bereshis Rabbah is
Oh,
cut
in
out.
Hebrew. I'm sorry, I'm reading English.
So it says, Rabbi Yossi Aglili and Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yossi Aglili pasar kra b'harim. Rabbi Yossi explains the pasuk about the mountains. B'shah sheba Kadosh Baruch Hu litin Torah b'Sinai. When Hashem was going to give the Torah on Har Sinai, hayu harim ratzim u'medainim elu elu. The mountains were running and fighting with each other. Zeh omer alaya Torah nitnes. One says the Torah should be given on me. Zeh omer alaya Torah nitnes. Tavor ba mi beis elim HaKarmel me'aspamia. So we saw this before, that they came from these different locations. Zeh shekasav chai ani ne'um hamalach Hashem ki kesaver baharim HaKarmel bayam yavai. Zeh omer ani nekresi. One says, I'm called for the Torah to be given on me. Zeh omer ani nekresi. The other one says, I am called for it. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu lama teratztun harim gavnunim. Hashem says, why are you fighting? Why are you all wrestling with each other? Kulchem harim gavayim ela gavnunim. Kulam nasa vedas kechavam al reshechem. You all had idols on top of you. This was a very common thing, that they would serve idols on top of a mountain. So the reason why these mountains are puzzle, are not kosher for Har Sinai, is because they had avodah zarah on them. Abal Sinai shaloi nas avodas kechavam alav. What was unique about Har Sinai? That it was never used for avodah zarah. Har chamad elokim l'shiftoi. This is the mountain that Hashem desires to rest upon it.
It was too humble.
It was too humble?
Yeah. You want to put an idol on a place of glory.
Right, so that's why nobody put the idol over there. Right.
Went back against it.
Vayered Hashem al Har Sinai, and Hashem rested on Har Sinai. Af al pikein, af Hashem yishkan lanetzach bebeis elamim. But Hashem chose his place of rest for eternity. That was bebeis elamim in the Beis Hamikdash. It's very interesting is that Har Sinai, even though it's the place where it all started, but to this day it's not a place that we really go to. It's not like the Beis Hamikdash in any way. Hashem chose his place of dwelling forever, specifically in the Beis Elamim and the Beis Hamikdash. So here we see another approach, another difference between Har Sinai and the other mountains, that their problem was that they actually had avodah zarah on them. But this takes us to a technical and halachic question, is can a mountain become a problem? Which means something that's attached and connected to the earth. Can you say that a person using it for an idol will make the mountain puzzle? Or that? So now if someone placed an avodah zarah on a mountain, you're not allowed to go up on that mountain? Like if someone serves the earth, they're not allowed to walk on it? Avodah zarah, someone makes an idol. But if someone takes something, a mountain, and says, you are my God, the mountain didn't change. What did you do to it? You didn't change the mountain. So why is it that there's a problem that these mountains had avodah zarah on it? They're connected. They're not something that a person made a change, or a human made a change to it. So this is a very interesting explanation from the Pesach Einayim, which is the Chidah, Reb Chaim Yosef David Azulai. The Efshar, the Tavor HaKarmel Kishiro Shenifsulu Mishum Shenekru. What did the Midrash say before? That these mountains were uprooted. These mountains, so now they're not attached anymore.
Yeah.
So now they became puzzle. So they were doing something good in a way. They were trying to, but by being disconnected from the earth, now they become Avodah Zarah. So what are they going to say to Har Sinai? Bo lasis dinim Sinai. But now they came and said, hey, but Har Sinai, the Gamhu puzzle. Har Sinai is also puzzle. Why would he be puzzle? If Har Sinai is originally from there, it's on the second. The Nevad b'mechubar pasul legavaya. So he brings here an interesting thing, that there's a certain avodah zara which is not kosher lagavaya. It's not kosher for Hashem, but it is okay for people to use it. V'hagam shedin ze letzad ila'a gamkein. Now, this is all. See, the question is it a problem for Hashem to use a mountain of Avodah Zarah? There's one thing about us, if we're allowed to use that mountain, but can Hashem use this mountain?
Sure.
So he's saying now it's pasul gavaya, that it's actually for us it's not a problem, but for Hashem it is a problem.
But God, people worship the sun, and God uses the sun.
So the sun, without the sun, the world, there's actually a Gemara that it says the reason why Hashem doesn't stop the sun from running is because he won't destroy his world because of foolish people. But Hashem doesn't have to use this mountain if it was also used for Avodah Zarah. So this is how he explains what was the battle of the mountains, what were the other mountains saying, that Har Sinai, even though it was never disconnected from the ground, but it shouldn't be fitting to be used for Hashem. There's still a problem that it should not be kosher for Hashem. It still not be fitting. So Abaskal came out and said, Lama tirtu dinim Sinai. Why are you starting up with Har Sinai? Loimar degamhu pasal legavaya. To say that this is also not, it's pasal, it's not befitting for Hashem. After lahediyot ein nevad b'mechubar. Even though for people it would not be a problem. Haloitedu the kulchem bali mumin etzel Sinai. Because if you compare yourself to Sinai, you are all bali mumin, you are all imperfect. Sha'atem pesulan lahediyot. Because you are not kosher even for regular people, for humans. Shenakartem, because you were uprooted. V'havale talush. Once something becomes uprooted, now it has a din of avodah zarah. Masha'enkein Sinai de'ene asur medina. But Har Sinai is not halachically a problem. Denevad shari lahediyot shari, because for a person it is a mutter, for us. Ach mishum de'moyis lagavaya, but because it's disgusting for Hashem, it's abominable for Hashem. High time denevad b'mechubar. The Sinai loy moislei. So if it's up to Hashem says, it's not disgusting for me, I don't despise it. The opposite. Har HaKarmel. Hashem says, this is the mountain that I desire. Hepech mois kida amar. So he's saying like this. The other mountains were claiming that Har Sinai, they were also Avodah Zarah there. But there's a difference because they are actually uprooted. So once it's uprooted, then it could be Avodah Zarah even for people, for humans. But Har Sinai, since it was always connected, it was a mountain that was over there, so it would only be a problem for Hashem, not for us.
What about the opinion that Sinai came out from Maria?
Oh, so I don't know how it fits with that. That's a little bit of a problem. So we must say that it's a different Midrash, or it goes with a different opinion. Because then that would give us a problem of Avodah Zarah. But he's saying if we assume that Har Sinai was there the whole time, it would only be a problem for Hashem, and then Hashem chooses not to have this problem.
Sinai didn't move of its own accord.
Hashem brought it. So it's Hashem's choice.
And the mountains uprooted themselves to make their case.
So that's the difference. That the other mountains, they came themselves. And yeah. Now, another question we have over here is don't the mountains know that gaiva is not a good thing?
Yeah, but that's, what's a mountain?
Gavoa. So here we have another question. If gaiva is not good, why didn't Hashem give the Torah in a valley or just in a plain place? Why did He give it on a Har Sinai? It's like, make up your mind. If you want a place that's humble, Hashem could have given it in a valley. Give it in a place which is a flat, just area. Why did Hashem choose to give it on a Har? And here we see that you do need to have some strength. It says you're not supposed to be like a doormat where everyone just steps over you. A Jewish person needs to have pride and strength, especially to stand up to the world that sometimes makes fun, but you also need to have humility. So you really need to have a balance of both. You have to have the Har part of it and the humility. So here we're going to see a deeper understanding over here of why the Torah was given on a mountain and why the other mountains weren't, what was the problem of the other mountains and advantage of Har Sinai.
That's a real parallel to Moshe, because Moshe was the most humble man that ever lived, but he also was the leader of millions.
So that's exactly what a leader needs. A leader needs to have strength and needs to be humble, needs to have humility. That's the essence of a leader, exactly. And that's why Moshe kibel Torah miSinai. Moshe was the perfect one to receive the Torah on Har Sinai. So Harim, and the next piece where it says Teras Menachem, Harim shayachim lamachloikes hadoimim shebebriya. Mountains, they are connected to the category of doimim, the inanimate. Hamachlaka hanachusa beyoser mibein atzemiach chai v'medaber. This is the lowest category between the four categories of starting with the human, which is the highest, and then you have the things that are alive, like animals, and then you have vegetation, then you have daimim, the inanimate. The imza gam bedaimim atzma yesh dargos. Within the daimim itself, there's levels. Haharim, the mountains, are mechunim b'sifrei achakira. In the works of philosophy, mountains are called tzomeach shebedaimim. They're called the things that grow within daimim, within the inanimate, because they kind of have this height to them which makes them stick out. So they're like the plant of the daimim, of the inanimate. Shekein goivham, their height, mevate his alus shel daimim. That represents the elevation of the inanimate. Nimtza sheyesh beharim mala shel aliyah l'mayla. That we see that there is a quality of elevation within the mountains. L'chein haisa machshava shaleim ru'uya l'hinasin haTorah. That's why the Torah was given on a mountain, representing this idea of elevation, where you're taking the thing which is the most, looks like it's dead, it's inanimate, has no life to it, but it's elevated, it's rising upward. So what was wrong with other mountains? Heishav lama kadosh baruch hu, lama teratzdan. Hashem says, why are you jumping? Why are you dancing? What are you doing? Yitachein sheyesh higayin b'tanasechem. It's possible that you have your reasons, you have logic to your reasons. Ach nimukim hagyonim mas'imim l'marecha shel shikulim sichlim. But logic has place when we're speaking with things that are logical. Kan oimedes l'hinasin haTorah. But we're about to give the Torah shebemusa pnimis hi retzainam chachmatze shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu atzmei. What is Torah? Torah is Hashem's desire, Hashem's wisdom. V'shikulim sichlim shel ha'olam hanivra einam taifsim lagabe makan. The different logical reasons don't fit over here. It's not what we're talking about. Imkain madua nivchar Har Sinai. So why was Har Sinai chosen? Haloi gam hu har. It is also a mountain. Shetinasan haTorah b'mishra. Why wasn't the Torah given on a flat land? Midrash namar al Har Sinai. We already brought this Midrash. Sinai mehechan ba. Where did Sinai come from? Mehar HaMoriah, from Mount Moriah. Why there? Why is it specifically the place of the binding of Yitzchak? Ma'alosei shel Har HaMoriah sheba yiskayim akedas Yitzchak. Nisayin akedahu semel shel mesiras nefesh tahira. The binding of Yitzchak is a symbol of pure self-sacrifice, shalamayla mikol diyon egoni, without any logical reason. Luhaya Yitzchak Avinu Maschil Ladon Diyunim Hegyonim. If you would start using logic, Yitachin Shayamaitze Nimukim Al Pitera Limana Malim Seres Atzmi Lakeda. Yitzchak could have got himself out of being a sacrifice with all different types of reasons. There's even halachic reasons why he should not have let himself be brought up upon the altar. Yachal hayalita in shesivi Hashem shama mipinavi. So we know you're not allowed to kill yourself.
Yeah.
And Avram was the one who heard the command, but Yitzchak didn't. So he could say, Avram, you have your command, but I don't have to give up my life. He could have said, it's an avera to give up your life. I didn't hear it from Hashem. Hashem didn't speak to me. You could tell Avram, it's your problem, it's not mine. There is a avera of spilling your blood. That's a mitzvah upon everyone. So if Yitzchak was being logical here, he could have not given up himself as a sacrifice. However, he knew that this is what Hashem wanted. He devoted himself for this totally, without making questions and calculations. This is expressed in Har Sinai. Even though it is a mountain, it hid its greatness. It stood out from all other mountains by its being humble. That's why he merited that the Torah should be given on it. So what's the idea over here? The other mountains had great qualities, but each one came with logic. They said, I am deserving that the Torah should be given on me. If you're starting to come with logic, that's not what Torah is about. Torah is Hashem's wisdom. For Torah, we need to have dedication. What did the Jewish people say? Nasa v'nishma. First we will do, then we will understand. The other mountains weren't wrong. They didn't do anything wrong, but they were coming with reason. They were saying, I have a certain reason or quality why the Torah should be given on me. And that was the problem. Because for receiving the Torah, you need to have total sacrifice, like Yitzchak had. And that's why Har Sinai had the quality that the other ones didn't have. So this is a deeper perspective. It's not about that they had gaiva, it's about that they were too logical. That's the difference over here. That they were coming with logic, Har Sinai was coming with dedication, with sacrifice. That's the difference, and that's why Har Sinai merited to it. And there's a pasuk in Tehillim that says, Yerushalayim Harim Savivla, that there's a lot of mountains around Yerushalayim. V'Hashem Saviv La'amai, and Hashem surrounds his nation. The David HaMelech is comparing, just like the mountains protect Yerushalayim, the fact that it's on a height and we have mountains surrounding it's a protection for Yerushalayim, so too Hashem is around the Jewish people to protect us. And using this idea of the mountains being so humble, it's really our humility that protects us. In other words, what keeps us strong with the Torah is the idea of the mountain. A rock is something that doesn't change. So our dedication to Torah, that's really what protects us.
Tsuri v'lo v'lasa.
Tsuri, you're right, Tsuri, my rock. V'lo v'lasa. Now, the next piece is really amazing. From Yalkut Shomayni, it's another Midrash. Reb Pinchas v'shem Reb Reuven Amar. Reb Pinchas said in the name of Reb Reuven, Asad HaKadosh Baruch Hu lahavi Sinai v'Tavor v'Karmel. That when Mashiach comes, Hashem will bring these three mountains, Sinai, Tavor, and Carmel, v'livnois Beis HaMikdash al gabeim, and will build the Beis HaMikdash on top of these three mountains. So isn't that amazing? These mountains that we kicked away, we pushed them off and said, you're not worthy to receive the Torah. When Mashiach comes, Hashem is going to build the Beis HaMikdash on these three mountains. Matam, where does he know this from? V'haya ba'achris hayamim. It says in Yeshaya that in the end of days, Nachon yiyah har beis Hashem b'reish harim. It says that the mountain of Hashem will be placed and established on the top of mountains. What are the mountains? Which mountains? These three that we know. Sinai, Tavor, and Carmel. Amar Rab Huna v'dayecha ad kan. He says, is that not enough? There's more. Wait, there's more. Not only will the Beis HaMikdash be on top of these three mountains, Ela Beis HaMikdash Omer Shira, the Beis HaMikdash will be singing, Ve'haharim Einim Acharav, and the mountains will respond in song. You ever heard a mountain singing? That's what it says. Mashiach comes and things will happen. Things will be different. He says the Beis HaMikdash will start singing and the mountains will be singing together. Umatam, where does he see this? In the same pasuk it says V'nasahu migvois. It says that it will raise from the hills. Ve'ein lashin v'nasa ela lashin shira. It says they will lift up with song, and everything will be uplifted with song and melody. Mahapshat. What is the reason for this? Why are these two mountains coming back to that the third Beis HaMikdash should be established on them? Right? I thought Tavor and Carmel are no good. I thought they're Bali Gaiva. Why are we bringing them back to build the Beis HaMikdash on them? Har Sinai, so this is a certain perspective. There could be different ideas to this. On the last page. Har Sinai, Mesamel Aslima da Torah v'kiyam mitzvos b'payil. Har Sinai represents someone who actually studies Torah and fulfills mitzvahs. Tavor v'Karmel. What are those two names? Tavor and Carmel. Mesamlim as Bali Lev Hashavor. Those represent the broken-hearted. The word Tavor in Aramaic means shavor, means broken. Carmel has the word rach, someone that's soft. Sheraitzim ma'id ma'id, raitzim lo ma'id. There are people that really desire, they have the yearning to do. Ach lemaisa lo matzlichim. Sometimes they're not successful. Raiv b'nei adam soivrim shesatikunim agdolim mevatzei rak Har Sinai. Some people think that who are the ones who are really doing what Hashem wants? Only Har Sinai, only those that are very practicing and doing all the mitzvahs. Ulam HaMedrash Megalalanu. The Midrash is teaching us here a very profound lesson. Sheshnei shlish mi Beis HaMikdash, that 2/3 of the Beis HaMikdash, Yibane Dafka al Gabi Tavor v'Karmel, will be built specifically on the mountains that were not Har Sinai, and the mountains that did not become the place of the Torah, but they desired, they had the goodwill to receive the Torah on them. Halahim Balei HaShe'ifos v'Hakisufim. They're the ones with the good aspiration and desire. Kalaimar, la'asad lava yizbarer. When Mashiach will come, it will be revealed. Shebalei hasheifos v'akisufim. The ones with desires, banu esatukun hashalim. They are also part of the completion. Loy pachos me'elu shezachu lasas b'payil. Not less than those who are doing it in actuality.
Here's a mind blower for you. So, who are the great mountains of our modern day? Christianity and Islam. Whose cooperation are we going to need in order to rebuild the temple? Christianity and Islam.
The nations of the world.
The third temple will literally be built on the shoulders of Christianity and Islam.
That's amazing. And to continue that even further, the pasuk that follows after where it says that the Beis HaMikdash will be built upon these mountains, the pasuk says, "V'naharu elav kol goyim." All the nations will stream to the Beis HaMikdash. So here we see a direct connection between the nations of the world, and maybe these other mountains represent the other nations, like you said. And there's even a Rambam that says that the other beliefs, like Christianity and Islam, are actually paving the way for Mashiach, because everyone is already talking about Mashiach, not in the right way, but at least they have some idea of it. So they're.
I can't think of a better analogy for Gaiva than Christianity and Islam. You know, Christianity conquered the world. Islam made a good attempt at conquering the world. Maybe it's still going on. But Judaism just keeps its head down, keeps it humble, and continues to contribute to mankind in ways they can't understand.
But at the end here we see that we have all three that are supporting the Beis HaMikdash.
Yep.
That's what's the amazing thing.
Christianity right now is supporting Israel in great measure financially. And Islam was a shelter for Judaism when the West was turning into an absolute furnace. Mm-hmm. There can be a great respect between Islam and Christianity and Judaism.
Yeah. So what's
someday.
So what's very interesting is that usually what we're told about the story of the mountains, they only tell us that Har Sinai was chosen and the other ones were pushed away because they were too haughty. But over here we see another side to this picture. First of all, Hashem rewarded the other mountains for coming. Hashem rewarded Har Tavor by the story of Sisera. Hashem brought a salvation for the Jewish people there, again from the nations. And then by Eliyahu Har HaKarmel, that was again a demonstration that Hashem is Hu Elokim in the face of the nations, in face of all these prophets of the Baal. That's again the Avodah Zarah that are right over there. And in Har HaKarmel, that's where the fire from Hashem comes down. And we see that ultimately, not only Har Sinai will be the place where the Beis HaMikdash is, but these other two mountains will also be right over there supporting the Beis HaMikdash. So this is a nice idea, showing that it's not only the ones who are doing everything, but the ones who have a good desire, someone who wants to do something good, even if he's practically or for whatever reason not able to do something, the desire counts. There's something to the wanting and the effort that you put into something. Finish off with there was a soldier it was called Mifza Sinai, in the campaign of Sinai, when they conquered the whole Sinai desert. And then, unfortunately, they gave back. But at the time that they conquered it, there is a few mountains that people identify with being Har Sinai.
I was there.
You were there?
I was going to school in Israel at the time, and we had a tour to the Sinai, and we were. And and we were on what some people think was on Sunday.
Oh, wow, very interesting. How did it feel?
It's not a big mountain.
It's a dusty hill in the middle of the desert.
So everybody could hear Hashem.
Yeah.
It might be way too far up and people think, they hear you.
Hashem, it says the voice was so loud, everyone was trembling. I'm sure you could hear him all across the world. So there was a soldier that after this campaign, when he went up on Sinai, he did not feel anything. He was a very spiritual person in general, but when he went up the mountain, he was expecting to feel something, and he didn't. He just felt like it was a regular mountain. And he wrote a letter to the Rebbe, and he said that, like, what do? I didn't feel anything on this mountain. Is there a problem with my neshama or something? So read this last thing at the bottom. V'kesher lama k'dushas Har Sinai, the last two paragraphs. V'kesher lama shekosef k'sha'ola lahar she'omrim alav shehu Har Sinai. You wrote to me in a letter that when you went up this mountain, that people say that it is Har Sinai, lo hirgish shezehu oisei har. He didn't feel that this is the mountain. He didn't really feel inspired or elevated. Betach l'dekvasei, it is certain that for a person on your level, l'maisar lahadgish, it is not necessary, which is like to emphasize, shekol chashivusei shel Har Sinai hu shekiblu Torah misinai. It's really the main thing of Har Sinai. It's not the focus on the mountain. The focus is on the Torah misinai, that we receive the Torah. V'chashivu zui be'enahi k'sheshomrim es haTorah k'deboi. The importance of the mountain is when we keep the Torah, she Torah's Chaim, which is the Torah of life. Torah has an everlasting lesson for daily life. The Torah's Olam Hainu Nitzchis. The Torah is everlasting. The Torah obligates every Jewish person in every space and in every time. This is what makes us an eternal nation, an eternal people. So what the Rebbe is telling him is that you're missing the point. the point of Har Sinai is the Torah and mitzvahs. So if you want to feel connected to Har Sinai, you got to study more Torah, you got to do more mitzvahs. And possibly that's why we don't make such a big deal about Har Sinai, because it's really not the location. It's really everywhere. Hashem gave it there, but like we said, it wasn't in Eretz Yisrael, like we started off. He didn't want anyone to claim it and say, oh, it's only for me. It's only in that place. The Torah is everywhere. It's eternal. It's above time and it's above space. Va'al-pi Torahs HaChasidus, according to the teachings of Chasidus, Achad mi'yesodisahu, one of the foundations, are ha'kara shekol Yehudi b'nafshay pnima kashiru kasher shel kayama b'Torah. Every Jew is connected with a very deep connection to the Torah. Torah's chaim u'b'mitzvaysel, to the Torah of life and its mitzvahs. Even though on the outside, possibly he does things that are not fitting to what his neshama really wants to. That's why we believe that we should try to bring close every Jewish person from love of every Jewish person, to bring him back and to connect him to the Torah that we all received by Har Sinai. So there's many messages over here that we learn. First of all, that Har Sinai is really for everyone. Hashem didn't want any of the Shvatim to fight over it. Har Sinai teaches us humility from one hand. We also learn from the good desire, from the goodwill of the other mountains to come close. How Hashem gives reward for effort. Even those mountains that were not chosen, but Hashem paid them for their effort. And when Mashiach comes, they'll all be right under the Beis HaMikdash, supporting the Beis HaMikdash. And like we just concluded, the main thing of Har Sinai is not the mountain, but it's the Torah that was given on it. And if you really want to be connected to Har Sinai, it's about learning Torah and doing mitzvahs. So Shekayach, we should all have a very good Yom Tov. Receive the Torah.
Very nice. Moshe was asking me about Minyan Thursday. I said,